this lesson, you'll learn how to implement device sensor capabilities in your Android apps. We'll use a demo, so let's look at our demo worksheet. In the worksheet, we'll filter the demo name on sensors. We get one entry, the sensors demo in the OS primary group. So let's fire it up in the emulator. We'll click OS, then sensors. Now we don't see anything happening because the emulator doesn't have the sensors a mobile device has. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open the app up in Eclipse in DDMS using my phone. So we'll open up DDMS, select my phone. I'm going to start the app, and it's collecting sensor data. I click on the capture button, and there we have it. So let me rotate this so that you can get a better view of the screen. And we see the screen with lines plotted representing sensor values. Notice that there are 6 lines. I don't know if you can make them out: blue, green, light blue, purple, red, and then there's a yellow line way down here. It's a little hard to see. And these are the X, Y, and Z axis data from the accelerometer and magnetic field sensors. Now let's open the sensors demo Java file to study the code. In the OS source folder, we'll open sensors. This code contains some graphics functions that I won't be going through in detail, and you can review our lesson on Canvas graphics for more background on these functions. So let's get started. Line 50 declares our sensors activity. Line 51 declares a sensor manager variable, and this is the class that gives us access to the device's sensors. 52 declares a GraphView variable based on the GraphView class defined beginning in line 54. Lines 54 through 205 define the GraphView class, which extends the View class and implements the Sensor Event Listener interface. Lines 56 through 70 define a number of variables and objects we'll be using below. 72 through 84 define a class, GraphView, that's identified below in the onResume method as the method to be invoked in response to a listener set up to watch for deliveries of sensor data from the hardware. Now let's take a look at that onResume method. And here I'm skipping the graphing code that you can go through yourself and review the Canvas graphics chapter for more background on. So line 222 through 234 define the onResume method that registers listeners to be called when new data from sensors is available. For example, in line 225 through 227, it sets up a listener for the accelerometer. Line 227 sets a parameter to get the data as fast as possible. In lines 72 through 79, colors are set for different graph lines. Lines 81 through 83 set parameters for drawing. Lines 86 through 103 define an override of the onSizeChanged method, and this is called during the layout when the size of this view has changed and we can make adjustments to the height and width of the display. Lines 105 through 171 define an override of the onDraw method, which is used to draw plotted lines for sensor values. Lines 173 through 201 define an override of the onSensorChanged method, which is called when sensor values have changed. Lines 179 through 181 is an example of retrieving the 3 orientation values from the accelerometer sensor event, providing the X, Y, and Z axis values. The type here says orientation, but remember down below in line 226, we registered a listener for the accelerometer, and those are the values that we're getting. Line 203 defines a method for onAccuracyChanged that isn't being used and has a blank body. And it's here that you can include code to react to a change in accuracy if you wanted to. Lines 212 through 220 define the onCreate method. Line 217 gets a sensor manager using the getSystemService method. Line 218 creates a GraphView object. 219 sets the GraphView as our display. 222 through 234 define the onResume method that we've already looked at that sets up the listeners for sensor value changes. and 236 through 240 define the onStop method that unregisters the sensor event listeners. That's our lesson on sensors. Essentially, it's pretty simple. You set up listeners for changes in sensor values, and then in the methods that you've set up to respond to those listeners, you use values from the sensors to take actions in your app.